Ben Affleck is breaking his silence about the end of his marriage to Jennifer Lopez. The Oscar winner got candid about their split for the first time in a GQ interview published on March 25th. His comments on the divorce came as he discussed all of the attention he has gotten in the tabloids.
Ben Affleck won an Oscar at 25. He directed one of the best thrillers of the decade.
How did you get the house back from the bank?
I bought the bank.
He married two of the most famous women in Hollywood. And yet today, his closest friends are the ones arranging his dates because he hasn't felt a real spark in months. His sobriety comes first. His children come first. But somewhere between the rehab stays and the divorce papers, something changed in him. People close to him say he's rebuilding slowly, carefully, almost like he's afraid to move too fast. What broke inside him after the second divorce? The answer isn't simple. Ben Affleck came into the world on August 15, 1972, in Berkeley, and his first memories were shaped by a home that felt full of books, ideas, and quiet tension. His mother was a Harvard-trained teacher who believed deeply in education, while his father carried dreams of being a playwright, but moved from one job to another, working as a carpenter, an auto mechanic, and even a janitor at Harvard University. When Ben was 3, the family left California and headed to Massachusetts. They spent time in Falmouth, where Casey was born in 1975 and soon settled in Cambridge. The move was pushed forward by money troubles and the slow unraveling of his parents' marriage. And when Ben turned 11, the separation became permanent. Life in Cambridge replaced the warm haze of Berkeley, and little by little, that new world shaped the boy who would one day stand under bright lights. Even his name carried a story. His middle name, Geza, came from a Hungarian family friend who had survived the horrors of the Holocaust. His family roots stretched across continents, from English and Irish lines to German and Scottish paths, with small threads reaching toward France, Sweden, and Wales. His father's side traced back to County Mayo in Ireland, and his mother's ancestry came from Scotland. This blend of cultures settled into him, giving him a sense of history and resilience. Whenever he heard his unusual middle name, he felt the weight of a story that came long before him. Growing up was not easy. His father's battle with alcohol pulled the family through long and painful seasons. Steady work was hard to keep, and he drifted from one job to the next until things grew so unstable that he became homeless for 2 years. Rehab helped him find his footing again, and he spent 12 years working as an addiction counselor afterward. But before that change, the constant moves and the heavy atmosphere inside the house carved deep impressions into Ben. He later said he felt a strange relief when his father moved out, as if the air inside the house finally cleared. Those early storms didn't break him, though. They gave him a sense of grit that he would carry throughout his life. Acting entered the picture early. At 7, he appeared in an independent film called The Dark End of the Street, made by a family friend. Not long after, he got a Burger King commercial, and at 12 he found himself in front of cameras again for The Voyage of the Mimi, a PBS educational show from 1984. More small roles followed in the late 1980s, including Hands of a Stranger in 1987 and The Second Voyage of the Mimi in 1988. His mother supported his interest in acting, but she hoped he might become a teacher one day. Still, with each role he took, the dream grew stronger. It helped that just 2 blocks away lived a boy named Matt Damon. Ben was 8 when he met Matt, who was 10. Their mothers introduced them, and the boys clicked almost instantly. They played baseball together and soon found that acting stirred the same spark in both of them. Cambridge Ringe and Latin became the place where their bond deepened. In 1986, an older kid confronted Matt in a hallway, and Ben stepped in without thinking. That moment closed the distance between them forever. Ben later said that if Matt hadn't encouraged him, he might not have chased acting with real purpose. Their friendship grew into the core of their futures, a partnership that would follow them from childhood into the heart of Hollywood. In their early 20s, both struggled through the same narrow path that so many young actors face. Ben picked up small parts wherever he could, appearing in TV movies and indie projects, and eventually landing a role in Dazed and Confused in 1993. Matt, meanwhile, was skipping classes at Harvard to take auditions, playing roles in School Ties in 1992 and Courage Under Fire in 1996. Money was tight. They lived together, shared whatever little they earned, and slept on couches more often than beds. Rejection was constant, but they held each other up each time another door closed. Those years turned their friendship into something unbreakable. Out of that shared struggle came a spark that changed everything. Matt began writing a 40-page play for a Harvard assignment, and that early draft became the seed of Good Will Hunting. They spent years shaping it. The story began as a thriller involving the NSA, but each rewrite peeled away the noise and brought the focus back to the emotional center of Will and Sean. They were so determined to protect their vision that they added fake scenes to see if executives were actually reading the script. Most didn't notice. They kept going anyway, rewriting it again and again, until it finally felt real. Before the world embraced the story, though, they had to endure another long stretch of rejection. Every major studio passed. They were told the script was too small and too risky. Some studios insisted they could not star in it. The project even slipped into turnaround, giving them just 30 days to find a new home before losing control of it. Out of frustration, they kept inserting wild fake scenes that no professional reader seemed to catch. Still, they didn't give up. Their persistence eventually reached Kevin Smith, who passed the script to Miramax. Gus Van Sant agreed to read it. Slowly, the walls that had held them back started to open. When Good Will Hunting finally reached the world in 1997, everything shifted. The film made more than $225 million against a budget of $10 million. Ben no longer had to fight for every small opportunity. Roles began coming to him. Matt found his path widening too. The two of them, who once shared couches and rejection slips, now had careers built on their own words. The greatest moment came in 1998 when they stood on the Oscar stage at just 25 years old. Their script won Best Original Screenplay at the 70th Academy Awards. The film was nominated for 9 Oscars, and the win sent their lives into a different orbit. Ben thanked his mother and Casey in a moment that became one of the night's highlights. Robin Williams won Best Supporting Actor, and the world embraced the film in a way that felt unreal compared to the years of doubt that came before. With the Oscar glow still fresh, Ben stepped into Armageddon in 1998. It was a huge production, with a budget of $140 million. The film opened on July 1st and pulled in $36 million in its first weekend, eventually reaching $554.6 million worldwide. It became the highest-grossing film of that year, and Ben's face moved from the world of indie drama into the center of blockbuster excitement. The success proved that he could carry a massive film, and that his rise after the Oscars was no accident. That same year brought another triumph. Ben appeared in Shakespeare in Love, which went on to win Best Picture at the 1999 Oscars. He played Ned Allen, a role that let him show a lighter, more charming side. The film brought in $289 million and won 7 Oscars, including Best Actress for Gwyneth Paltrow. Ben wasn't the lead, but his presence added to the film's bright energy. His place among Hollywood's top names became clear. By the end of 1999, he had starred in a blockbuster, appeared in an Oscar-winning Best Picture, and held the respect of both audiences and studios. They first crossed paths in early 2002 while filming Giggly in Los Angeles, and the moment Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez stepped on set together, something shifted. Lopez was still married to Chris Judd, but the chemistry between her and Affleck kept growing until it stopped being something they could hide. By July 2002, Lopez and Judd had separated, and only 2 days after she was seen kissing Affleck at her 32nd birthday party, she filed for divorce. That kiss didn't just change the direction of their lives. It created a storm that followed them everywhere. Paparazzi camped outside their homes, magazines screamed their names, and suddenly, the world had a new obsession. They became Bennifer, the first celebrity couple to ever get a blended name, and it was spoken everywhere as if it was its own news story. Their romance moved fast, almost too fast, and before long, their relationship overshadowed the film they were working on. People watched them more than the movie, and it became clear that their love story had turned into a global spectacle long before either of them realized how far it would go. The noise surrounding them grew even louder once Giggly hit theaters on August 1, 2003. The film had a huge budget that stretched from $54 million to nearly $75 million after reshoots and marketing, yet it barely made $6 million in the US and only $7.2 million worldwide. Its opening weekend was a painful $3.75 million. Within days, theaters were nearly empty. The movie collapsed so fast that its failure became part of Hollywood lore, taking director Martin Brest's career with it. The loss was massive, and the embarrassment spread quickly. Before long, people weren't talking about the movie's plot or acting. They were talking about how it had become one of the biggest box office disasters in film history. And the trouble didn't stop there. When the 2004 Razzie Awards came around on February 28th, Giggly set a record no one wants. It swept all 6 major categories: Worst Picture, Worst Actor, Worst Actress, Worst Screen Couple, Worst Director, and Worst Screenplay. No film had ever taken all 6 before. The voters, around 600 of them, made their point loud and clear. The fallout was so heavy that Affleck even got nominated for Worst Actor of the Decade. Giggly didn't just fail. It became a cultural punchline, the sort of thing people brought up whenever they wanted to talk about how bad Hollywood could get. Through all this, the media frenzy around Bennifer kept fueling the fire. Their romance was so big that it swallowed every headline. Critics and audiences began judging Giggly through the lens of their relationship, rather than the movie itself. Every interview, every outing, every whisper became more important than the film. The couple's fame grew larger than the story they were trying to tell on screen. And as the pressure built, you could almost feel how the hype began working against them. The Bennifer effect became a case study for how media obsession can drag a film down long before it even gets a chance. The spark that started it all came from that kiss on July 24, 2002, at Lopez's birthday party in New York. 2 days later, on July 26th, she filed for divorce from Chris Judd. Photographers captured the kiss, published it everywhere, and turned the moment into fuel for one of the biggest scandals of the early 2000s. People questioned the timing. They whispered about overlap. The world watched every move they made. By November 2002, the divorce was finalized. But by then, the drama had already spun itself into shape. Around that same time, Ben Affleck proposed. It was November 2002 when he presented her with a custom Harry Winston ring featuring a 6.1-carat fancy, intense pink diamond worth around $2.5 million. The ring was so striking that Lopez said the whole proposal felt like a fairy tale. Overnight, colored diamonds became a trend, and the ring itself turned into a symbol, of the entire Bennifer era. Even years later, celebrities asked to see it because it had taken on a life of its own. Their wedding was planned for September 14, 2003, at the Four Seasons Biltmore in Santa Barbara. But as the date drew close, the pressure of being watched by the entire world became unbearable. The couple released a statement on September 10th, saying they were postponing the ceremony because of excessive media attention. They were so overwhelmed they even considered hiring decoy brides at different locations to throw off the press. Security at the hotel was so intense that guests were told to keep their invitations visible at all times. Another bride who was scheduled to marry there the same day feared her own wedding would be ruined by the chaos. In the end, the ceremony never happened, and the postponement marked the first sign that their relationship was starting to crack under all the weight. By January 13, 2004, the breakup became official. Both stars admitted the constant scrutiny had worn them down. Lopez called it the biggest heartbreak of her life. Affleck said the media storm destroyed not only their relationship, but also his friendship with her and parts of his career. Their movie had become the punchline of the year. Their romance had become the cautionary tale everyone talked about. And as their love faded, so did their professional standing. It was like the spotlight that once made them sparkle now burned them from every angle. Their careers fell into a rough stretch after the breakup. Affleck's Giggly made only $6.8 million on a $75 million budget. Lopez's films around that time struggled too. Even her album This Is Me then didn't perform the way she hoped. Critics mocked them. Audiences rolled their eyes. The media painted their story as a soap opera that ended in disaster. It took almost a decade for both of them to rebuild what they had lost, which turned the Bennifer chapter into one of the biggest Hollywood warnings about fame and pressure. But while the romance was unfolding and collapsing in the public eye, Affleck had already been fighting his own private battles. In July 2001, before Bennifer ever began, he checked into Promises in Malibu after a night of heavy partying. His friend Charlie Sheen drove him there. The stay lasted 30 days, and his spokesperson said he was choosing a fuller life without alcohol. Even then, Affleck admitted later, the struggle didn't end. It was just the beginning of a long road he would keep walking. By June 29, 2005, he married Jennifer Garner in a small ceremony with only 4 guests. Victor Garber officiated. Their first child, Violet, was born in December 2005, followed by Serafina in January 2009 and Samuel in October 2012. For a while, their family grew peacefully. But alcohol lingered in the background and slowly started pushing its way forward again. Despite rehab in 2001, the problem stayed with him. As tensions in his marriage with Garner grew in 2015 and 2016, he began drinking more heavily. In 2017, he checked into Passages Malibu again during Christmas. Friends said they were willing to try anything to help him. In 2018, Garner brought an addiction specialist to his home for an intervention, and that led to his 3rd rehab stay. The pain of addiction ran deep and affected everything around him, including his marriage. Their divorce became final in 2018. Affleck later called it his biggest regret. Yet through everything, they stayed committed to co-parenting their 3 children and keeping their family as steady as they could. Christine Uzunian stepped into Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner's home in April 2015 as the nanny for their 3 children. And everything started out calm. She settled in fast and became someone the family trusted. Then she began telling friends she was in love with Affleck. And this opened a door that changed everything. She said they shared moments at the Hotel Bel Air, a place known for quiet celebrity meetings, and soon photos began to circulate that showed her sitting on his lap and kissing him. the whispers started turning into noise. People close to the family said the shift from professional to romantic happened within weeks of her arrival. Affleck's team kept calling the stories complete garbage, but the scandal kept growing until it affected the way people saw him. It pulled him into a storm he couldn't step out of. Things grew more tense when late June 2015 arrived. Affleck, Garner, Uzunian, and the children went to the Bahamas and stayed at Baker's Bay, a private resort that always tried to keep things hidden from the world. Uzunian posted pictures with soft captions like "Beautiful sunrise in paradise," and people began to wonder why her messages felt a little too dreamy. Her fiancé suddenly ended their relationship during the same trip, and this added more smoke to a fire already spreading. Garner returned from filming and sensed something off. She caught behavior that didn't look right and felt betrayed, not only as a wife, but as a mother. That moment became the breaking point. It pushed her to let Uzunian go and close the chapter before the damage grew worse. But the story didn't end there. Uzunian told Garner she was flying to Los Angeles after the trip, yet she quietly joined Affleck and Tom Brady on a private flight to Las Vegas for a poker tournament. She stayed hidden the whole time, and people around Affleck said he convinced her to come, even though the children were not with them. When Garner found out, she acted immediately. She fired the nanny. After that, Uzunian tipped off paparazzi and let them photograph her delivering champagne to Affleck's rental home. She drove his Lexus. She stayed at the Hotel Bel Air, where rooms cost more than $1,000 a night. It looked like a pattern, and it fed every rumor out there. She even met with attorneys to discuss suing Garner for wrongful termination, insisting Affleck had expressed deep feelings for her. That entire mess soon earned its name, Nanny Gate. Whether the claims were real or not, the scandal left a mark on Affleck that didn't fade easily. Before that drama took over headlines, Affleck was already tied to another kind of story. It happened in April 2014, when he was caught counting cards at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. Security footage recorded him using a strategy called Perfect Basic, which means keeping track of the ratio of high cards to low cards left in the deck and adjusting bets as the count shifts. When the odds tilt in your favor, you bet high. When they don't, you bet the minimum. His patterns were too sharp, and the casino noticed. They told him he was too good, labeled him an advantage player, and banned him from blackjack for life. Casinos rarely admit this openly, but they do not like players who flip the house edge. Skill threatens their bottom line, and Affleck crossed that line. What made the story more interesting was that Affleck never hid it. In an interview, he said he studied blackjack, and once he became decent, the casinos asked him to stop. He pointed out the strange truth that being good at the game goes against casino rules, and that alone says something about how Vegas works. He only played blackjack because it was the one game where skill actually mattered. He wouldn't switch to craps or roulette, which rely on luck. When the casino banned him, they made it clear he was still welcome to stay on the property, just not at the blackjack tables. It showed that big spenders are welcome as long as they lose. The moment they start winning, things shift. Through all this chaos, Affleck found a different path that saved his career. In 2007, he directed Gone Baby Gone. It had a quiet kind of strength, and critics saw it right away. The film earned a huge 94% rating on Rotten Tomatoes and marked the beginning of Affleck's comeback. Then he followed with The Town in 2010. It was gritty. It was sharp. It made more than $147 million worldwide and earned Oscar recognition for supporting actress Amy Adams. Suddenly, the jokes about his old roles faded, and people began calling him Hollywood's comeback kid. By 2010, he had formed Pearl Street Films and signed a major deal with Warner Brothers. This shift set the perfect stage for Argo. Argo arrived in 2012 and changed everything for him. He directed it, produced it, and starred as Tony Mendez, the CIA operative leading a risky rescue mission during the 1979 hostage crisis in Iran. The story came from a memoir and a Wired article, and from the moment the film was released in October 2012, people felt the tension in every scene. It earned $232 million worldwide and was praised as a masterclass in suspense. When the Oscars came in 2013, Argo won Best Picture, Best Adapted Screenplay, and Best Film Editing. The Best Director category didn't include Affleck, and that made the win even more shocking. He became the first person since 1989 to win Best Picture without receiving a directing nomination. That moment proved he had stepped into a new place in Hollywood. The missing nomination became one of the biggest surprises of the season. People expected him to be a lock for Best Director. Critics, insiders, and even Academy members believed his name would be read that morning, but it wasn't. The nominees were Michael Haneke, Ben Zeitlin, Ang Lee, Steven Spielberg, and David O. Russell. Affleck later said the snub hurt deeply. It left him embarrassed because he had been told again and again that he was certain to be nominated. At the Critics' Choice Awards, he joked about thanking the Academy and brushed off the sting with humor. Still, the shock was so strong that people say the Academy changed its rules after that year to avoid similar oversights. Affleck kept his balance through the entire wave of attention. He said the morning of the nominations felt nothing like any other day. He had to pretend he was fine, even though he felt a massive hit to his pride. But he also said that holding on to bitterness would have destroyed him. Winning Best Picture that same night softened the pain. He described it as the single most self-satisfying moment of his career. He even won Best Director at the Critics' Choice Awards, which allowed him to turn the snub into something positive. His calm response made people respect him more. That victory meant everything to him. For years, he had carried the weight of tabloids and criticism, and the Argo win finally silenced a lot of voices. He said the award felt more meaningful than he ever expected. It proved he could rise again and build a respected career behind the camera. It became a personal redemption, something he had been chasing since the days after Good Will Hunting, when his life was pulled into the spotlight for reasons he didn't control. Behind the success, Affleck battled another struggle. In March 2017, he completed a 30-day stay in residential rehab for alcohol addiction. He announced it himself and said he wanted to be the best father he could be. His history with alcohol went back years. His first rehab stay was in 2001. His father had fought the same addiction, and it shaped much of Affleck's life. His 2017 stay came after a relapse during the holidays, and he quietly admitted himself to Passages Malibu. He continued treatment in another facility months later. When photos surfaced of him with a woman outside his home, rumors grew, but he stayed focused on recovery and reminded people that getting help is nothing to be ashamed of. The following year, Garner stepped in again. In August 2018, she arrived at his home for an intervention. TMZ cameras captured the scene as she walked in distressed but determined. She had seen photos of him accepting deliveries of beer and liquor, and she knew he needed help. Affleck didn't fight it. He got into her car, and they stopped at Jack in the Box on the way. A small moment that showed how drained he was. She drove him to a treatment center and stayed by him through the process. Later, Affleck said his family had been a lifeline in his recovery. Then came the backlash from his 2021 interview. He mentioned his marriage to Garner while discussing his drinking. and people interpreted his words as blaming her. The reaction was intense. Garner stayed silent, but people close to her said the comments hurt deeply. Affleck quickly clarified his point, but the damage had been done, and the public split in their opinions. It reminded everyone how complicated personal struggles become when the world is watching. Garner later spoke about the divorce and said the hardest part was losing a genuine partnership and friendship. She talked about the pain of breaking a family unit, especially with 3 children, and how the end of a marriage creates a kind of grief that stretches far beyond paperwork. Her honesty gave people a peek into the emotional cost of their separation. Affleck moved forward and reunited with Jennifer Lopez in 2021. They married in Las Vegas in July 2022 and held a grand wedding in Georgia the next month. Their marriage lasted exactly 2 years. On August 20th, 2024, Lopez filed for divorce. It became final on January 6, 2025. Affleck told GQ there was no dramatic reason for the split. Sometimes, he said, things simply stop working. Lopez later said the divorce was the best thing that ever happened to her because it pushed her toward personal growth and independence. Through everything, Affleck has said that his divorce from Garner in 2015 remains the greatest regret of his life. He talked about the shame he carried and how heavy it felt. He said, divorce leaves scars, especially when children are involved, and he learned how important forgiveness and healing are. Now his friends are trying to help him rebuild his personal life. They set him up on quiet dates, but he hasn't felt a real spark yet. He stays careful because his sobriety comes first. His children come first. Any person who enters his life must respect that. Slowly, step by step, he is rebuilding the quieter parts of his world. His story keeps moving, shaped by mistakes, victories, heartbreaks, and the hope that things can settle into something steadier with time.